So I'm going to show you how to make a very simple mask. If you need to make one and you don't have really great sewing skills, this is the pattern that Joann Fabrics is handing out if you're helping to make masks for healthcare workers and donating them. And they'll actually give you the fabric and the pattern, and you make 5 and then you take back 5. So I'm going to show you what you can make pretty easily from their kit. So here's the instructions, and you can get those online. I happen to have some elastic still in my house, so I'm using elastic for mine. I'm cutting my elastic to 7.5 inches, which is not too terribly long, so you should be able to get quite a few masks out of one roll of elastic. So 7.5 and 7.5, and which are not included in the kit right now because elastic is pretty hard to come by. And then you get 2 pieces of fabric. So you take the 2 pieces of fabric and you put them with the side you want facing out later when you're finished. You put those 2 sides together, so you really get the opposite sides of the fabric that are standing out. And the reason why is we want our sewing stitch to be on the inside so you don't see it. So we're going to actually turn these inside out. So then you take your elastic and you fold over this edge slightly and just lay your elastic there. Fold the edge back so it's just inside, and then I'm going to pin that so it doesn't come out while I'm sewing. So just one pin, just kind of hold it in place. Flip it around, take your other piece of elastic and place that inside. It doesn't need to be up against the edge because you need room to be able to sew and have your stitch so that it doesn't catch the elastic while you're sewing. So now I'm going to pin that side, and then I'm going to go ahead and put it on my sewing machine. See how we can get the best angle. So I have basic thread in here. I'm just doing a basic stitch. You want to start in the middle, just offset from the middle on the bottom. Make sure your elastic didn't bend and turn like mine just did when you did that. And then we're just going to sew. So a straight stitch down. Make sure you reinforce it when you get to the elastic, so you're going to want to go backwards. And then forward again. And then backwards again. Just to make sure you're reinforcing where that point is, the elastic's held. Go forward. I leave my needle down. Take my foot up to rotate so then I don't lose my place in the pattern, in the sewing. Take that pin out so I don't run over it. And then I make sure my elastic's out of the way, and then I just come down this side. I'm going to do a back stitch to reinforce that. Come back again. Same thing, I'm going to turn. This time I want to make sure my elastic's up against that edge. Put my foot back down now that I've turned. So did everyone see that? My hand was in the way. So lift the foot up, turn, put the foot back down, come across here, back stitch to hold it in place, come back again. And then it's a straight line. Make sure your elastic on the next side's ready for when you get there. Mine's shifted a little bit. There we go. Just go straight across it. Make sure you don't run off the edge if the piece on the bottom is shorter. Back stitch, forward, back. Oops. Okay. Now we'll come forward the final time. The nice thing is, if you mess up on this side, you're going to turn it inside out. So your stitches don't necessarily have to be even or on top of each other. They'll work it out. You won't be able to see this part of your fabric. So I'm going to come down again one more time. Put my foot down. I like to go back before I turn my corner. Lift my foot up. Turn my corner. And then this is the final side. Now we're only going to put my foot back down, stitch. Now we're only going to come about halfway back because we want to leave a gap right here. So you see I started my stitch here on the other side. We're going to leave a gap of about this much, so maybe about 2 inches, because we need to turn the mask inside out. maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches, just depends how much you want to tug and fool with it. So we're going to come back down now this way. And we're actually going to stop here, do a back stitch to kind of tie that off, come back again, and voila. So let's see what happens. So take it off, cut your string, your thread. So now we're going to take this and use this, which is pretty small. You might want to leave yours a little bigger. And you just push it so it flips the other way. If I can get it flipped. Takes a minute to pull it all through. Depending on the size that you leave that hole, makes it easier or harder to push your mask through. So I'm going, this is probably what takes the longest out of everything is, so if you can grab an edge, like where you put the elastic, that can help. There we go. So there is a mask. So we still have this edge right here that we used to flip. So you can just tuck those edges in, put it back on the sewing machine. So remember, this is a basic mask. This mask doesn't have filter pockets and there's no interfacing in it. You can add another layer if that's something you want to do. The Joann's directions don't necessarily talk about that, but you can put it, especially if you're making masks that you know if you work in healthcare or you know exactly where they're going and you have some filter material you can put in, you can do that. So I just went back over that to close that little gap. And that is how you get a face mask in less than 5 minutes or so. And there's 2 different colors. The reason why is so you remember what side was always towards your face. So I know it looks kind of interesting since these are the 2 fabric patterns Joann's gave me. But it is important to always be able to remember what side you had turned towards you and what side was turned towards the patient or the public. And so using 2 different colors, even if they don't really match up well, is really important. So I hope this helped you understand how to make a basic mask, and have a great day.